I used to believe that buying things would make me happy. A new gadget, a new piece of clothing, a new something for the house. Each purchase came with a little rush of excitement, a brief moment of satisfaction. But that satisfaction never lasted. Within days, sometimes hours, the new thing became just another thing. Another item to store, to clean, to maintain, to eventually get rid of. The happiness I bought was always temporary, but the clutter it created was permanent. For decades, I kept buying, filling my home, filling my closets, filling my life with stuff I thought I needed, but rarely used. I was chasing contentment through consumption, and I never caught it. Then something changed. Maybe it was turning 60 and realizing my time was more valuable than my possessions. Maybe it was looking around my crowded home and feeling suffocated instead of satisfied. Maybe it was finally understanding that the best things in life truly are not things. Whatever the reason, I stopped buying. Not everything, of course, but many categories of purchases that I once thought were essential, I simply stopped, and I waited to see what I would miss. The answer surprised me. I missed almost nothing. In fact, my life got better, simpler, lighter, more peaceful. Today I want to share the things I stopped buying after 60 and never once regretted. If you are tired of accumulating stuff, tired of spending money on things that do not bring real joy, maybe my experience will inspire a different way. The first thing I stopped buying was clothing I did not absolutely need. For years, I bought clothes constantly. A new shirt because it was on sale. New pants because mine were getting old, even though the old ones still worked. New shoes because I liked how they looked, even though I already had shoes for every occasion. My closet was overflowing. I had clothes I had never worn with tags still attached. I had multiple versions of basically the same item. I had enough clothing to dress myself for weeks without doing laundry, and yet I kept buying more, partly out of habit, partly because shopping felt good in the moment, partly because advertisements convinced me I needed the latest style or the newest brand. When I stopped buying clothes, I expected to feel deprived. I expected to eventually run out of things to wear. I expected to look shabby or outdated. None of that happened. What I discovered was that I actually wore only a small fraction of my wardrobe. The same comfortable items got chosen again and again. The rest just hung there, taking up space, making me feel vaguely guilty every time I looked at them. Now I buy clothes only when something truly wears out. Not when it goes out of style, not when I get bored of it, but when it can no longer serve its purpose. And even then, I replace it with something simple and versatile rather than trendy or excessive. My closet is sparse now, but I can see everything I own at a glance. Getting dressed takes seconds instead of minutes. I never stand there overwhelmed by too many choices. And I have saved thousands of dollars that would have gone to clothing I did not need. The second thing I stopped buying was the latest technology and gadgets. For years, I felt pressure to keep up. New phone every year or two. New computer when the old one seemed slow. New gadgets that promised to make my life easier, smarter, more connected. I was caught in an endless upgrade cycle, always chasing the newest version, the fastest processor, the most features. And each upgrade brought only temporary satisfaction before the next new thing was announced, and my current device suddenly felt inadequate. The technology industry is designed to make you feel like what you have is never enough. There is always something newer, always something better, always something you supposedly need. It is exhausting and expensive. When I stepped off that treadmill, I found peace I did not expect. My phone is several years old now. It still makes calls, sends messages, takes decent photos, and does everything I actually need. Is it the fastest or fanciest? No. Does that matter for my daily life? Not at all. My computer is old by industry standards, but it still works perfectly for my purposes. Email, writing, browsing, video calls. I do not need the power of a space shuttle to do these simple things. I stopped buying gadgets that promised to solve problems I did not have. Fitness trackers that made me anxious about my steps. Smart home devices that complicated things that were already simple. Products that seemed essential in advertisements but sat unused in drawers. The money saved has been significant, but even more valuable is the mental peace of not constantly feeling behind, not constantly feeling like I need to upgrade, not constantly comparing my technology to what others have. What I have works. That is enough. The third thing I stopped buying was decorative items for my home. Knickknacks, figurines, decorative pillows, wall hangings, seasonal decorations, things that serve no purpose except to sit there and look pretty. For years, I bought these things thinking they would make my home more beautiful, more complete, more like the homes I saw in magazines. Every store trip included picking up something decorative. Every holiday meant new themed items. Every empty space seemed like an opportunity for another purchase. But here is what I came to realize. All that decoration was not making my home more beautiful. It was making it more cluttered, more overwhelming, more difficult to clean and maintain. I would walk into my living room and instead of feeling peaceful, I felt crowded. Every surface held something. Every shelf was filled. Every wall was covered. My home had become a storage facility for decorative objects, and I was the curator of a collection I had never consciously chosen to create. When I stopped buying decorations, my home began to breathe. Empty spaces appeared, and instead of rushing to fill them, I learned to appreciate them. The fewer objects there were, the more I could actually see and enjoy the ones that remained. Now, I buy decorative items only if they are truly meaningful, not because they are pretty in the store, not because they are on sale, not because there is an empty spot that needs filling. Only if they genuinely speak to me and will bring long-term joy. My home is simpler now, more spacious, more peaceful. Cleaning takes a fraction of the time because there is so much less to clean around. And the few decorative items I have kept are actually appreciated because they are not lost in a sea of visual clutter. The fourth thing I stopped buying was books I would probably never read. Now, I love books. Reading is one of my greatest pleasures. But there is a difference between buying books you will read and buying books you think you should read or might someday read. For years, I accumulated books faster than I could possibly read them. Every bookstore trip meant new purchases. Every recommendation meant an order. Every interesting topic meant another volume added to the pile. I had stacks of unread books everywhere. Books on shelves, books on tables, books on the floor. A physical representation of all the reading I intended to do but never got around to. Instead of inspiring me, these books made me feel guilty. Guilty about all the knowledge I was not acquiring, all the stories I was not experiencing. This pile of unread books has a name. It is called a sundoku in Japanese, and it is very common. But common does not mean healthy. Those unread books were taking up space in my home and space in my mind. When I stopped buying new books before finishing the ones I had, something shifted. Reading became pleasurable again instead of obligatory. I could focus on what I was actually reading instead of feeling guilty about what I was not. Now I operate on a simple principle. One book at a time. I do not buy a new book until I have finished or deliberately abandoned the current one. If I hear about something interesting, I write it down on a list. But I do not buy it immediately just because it sounds good. This approach has reduced my book collection significantly. My shelves hold books I have actually read and loved enough to keep. No more piles of good intentions gathering dust. And the library has become my friend again. Why buy a book I may not like when I can borrow it, try it, and return it if it does not suit me? Borrowing before buying has saved me money and space while still letting me explore new ideas and authors. The fifth thing I stopped buying was kitchen tools and appliances. For years, I was seduced by products that promised to make cooking easier, faster, or more gourmet. Every infomercial, every cooking show, every kitchen store seemed to offer something I desperately needed. I bought specialized tools for tasks I rarely did. A pasta maker used twice, a bread machine that took up half a counter, a vegetable spiralizer because zucchini noodles seemed healthy and interesting, an electric can opener when my manual one worked fine. My kitchen drawers were stuffed with gadgets. My counters were crowded with appliances. Finding anything meant digging through layers of tools, most of which I had forgotten I owned. The truth is, great cooking does not require dozens of specialized tools. Professional chefs often work with minimal equipment because they understand that skill matters more than gadgets. A good knife, a few quality pots, some basic utensils. That is really all you need for most home cooking. When I stopped buying kitchen stuff, I also started clearing out what I already had. I donated appliances that had been used once or twice. I removed gadgets that duplicated what a simple knife could do. I cleared my counters and my drawers. What remains is functional and sufficient. I have what I need and nothing more. Cooking has become easier, not harder, because I can find things. My kitchen feels calm instead of chaotic, and I have not once missed any of the items I removed. The sixth thing I stopped buying was gifts out of pure obligation. For years, I felt required to give gifts for every occasion. Birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, graduations, housewarmings, baby showers. The list was endless, and it often felt more like duty than generosity. I would wander stores looking for something, anything to give, not because I had found the perfect item, but because the occasion demanded a gift, and I needed to check that box. Many of these gifts were generic, forgettable, purchased in a hurry without real thought. I spent considerable money on gifts that I suspected would end up in donation piles or forgotten closets. The obligation to give had overtaken any genuine desire to give. Gift-giving had become a chore rather than an expression of love. When I changed my approach, it was uncomfortable at first. I told family and friends that I would be giving fewer physical gifts, that my presence and my love were my gifts, that when I did give something physical, it would be because I had found something truly meaningful, not because a calendar date required it. Some people understood immediately. Others took longer. There was an adjustment period where I felt like I was breaking unwritten rules. But what emerged was more authentic. Now when I give a gift, it means something. It is not an obligation fulfilled, but a genuine expression of care. I give my time, my attention, my help. When I do give objects, they are thoughtful and personal. And I have been freed from the exhausting cycle of obligatory purchasing, the stress of finding something, anything, for every occasion, the money spent on gifts that did not matter, the guilt of giving things I knew were not special. Real generosity is not about buying things. It is about giving of yourself. That lesson took me 60 years to learn. The seventh and final thing I stopped buying was anything whose primary purpose was to impress other people. Fancy items chosen not because I wanted them, but because of how they would make me look. Status symbols that meant nothing to me personally, but signaled something to others. This is perhaps the most insidious type of spending. We do not always realize we are doing it. We tell ourselves we want the nicer car, the bigger television, the name brand item. But if we are honest, we want them partly because of how others will perceive us. I spent years buying things to project an image, things that strained my budget but impressed the neighbors, things I did not particularly care about but felt I should own, things that sat in my home as advertisements of success rather than sources of actual joy. When I stopped caring about impressing people, my spending changed dramatically. I bought what I actually needed and wanted, not what would look good to observers. I stopped comparing my possessions to others and started asking simply whether something served my life. The freedom this brought was extraordinary. No more keeping up with anyone. No more straining to appear successful. No more buying things to create an image instead of a life. I drive an older car that works perfectly well. I wear clothes that are comfortable rather than fashionable. My home is simple rather than showpiece worthy. And I am happier than I ever was when I was trying to impress. The people whose opinions truly matter do not care about my possessions. They care about who I am, how I treat them, what kind of person I am becoming. And the people who judge me by my stuff are not people whose judgments I need to consider. This realization has saved me money, stress, and a great deal of wasted energy. When I stopped buying these 7 categories of things, I expected to feel deprived. I expected to miss when I was no longer acquiring. I expected my life to feel smaller, less satisfying, less complete. The opposite happened. My life expanded in ways I did not anticipate. With less stuff coming in, I had more space in my home and more money in my bank account. But I also had more mental space. Less decisions to make about what to buy. Less clutter to manage. Less noise in my life. I started to appreciate what I already had. When you stop constantly adding new things, you begin to actually see and use what is already there. Clothes I had forgotten about. Books I had not read. Kitchen tools that had been buried under newer acquisitions. My relationship with money changed. I saved more, not through discipline or deprivation, but simply because I was no longer spending on things I did not need. Financial stress decreased. The future felt more secure. My values clarified. I realized that most of my spending had been unconscious, driven by habit and advertising and social pressure rather than genuine desire. When I became intentional about purchases, I also became more intentional about how I spent my time and energy. And I found that experiences brought more lasting happiness than possessions. Time with friends, a walk in nature, a good book from the library, a home-cooked meal. These simple pleasures outweigh any object I could buy. I am not telling you to never buy anything again. We all have needs that require purchases. We all have wants that are legitimate and worth fulfilling. What I am suggesting is intention. Before you buy something, ask yourself whether you truly need it, whether you will truly use it, whether it will truly add value to your life. Not in the moment of purchase, when excitement and advertising and habit are influencing you. But honestly, realistically, over time, ask yourself whether you are buying for yourself or for an image, whether you are filling a real need or a temporary emotion, whether this purchase will still feel worthwhile in a month, a year, 5 years. Most of my regrettable purchases failed these questions. Most of my clutter came from moments of unconscious buying. Most of my wasted money went to things I did not truly want or need. Buying less has given me more peace, more money, more space, more appreciation for what truly matters. If you are drowning in stuff, if your spending is out of control, if your home and life feel cluttered and overwhelming, maybe it is time to stop. Not deprivation, not punishment, just a pause. A chance to ask what you really need, what you really want, what will really make your life better. The answer is usually less than you think. Thank you for watching today. If this message resonated with you, please share it with someone who might be ready to hear it. We all need reminders that happiness cannot be purchased, only lived. Subscribe for more conversations about simple living, intentional choices, and finding peace in this stage of life. I share what I am learning, one step at a time. Until next time, take care of yourself. Buy less, live more, and remember, the best things truly are not things. I will see you in the next one.